6 Tinder dates that went horribly wrong.
Tinder is a popular dating app that I'm sure you're familiar with. You may even be trying to meet someone on it right now. But you better hope that the people you match with are nothing like the ones I'm going to tell you about today.
This video is written by and features Mr. Hockey Mask, an up-and-coming horror channel. If you like it, check out his channel for more similar stories. Number 6. A Kansas sorority girl met a 30-year-old man named Shane on Tinder, where they set up plans to go out for dinner. After dinner, Shane took this girl to his place where another friend of his joined them to smoke some marijuana. After a while, Shane became extremely paranoid and accused the girl of constantly flirting with his friend. He started to get angrier and angrier, and eventually assaulted her and punched her in the face, knocking her out. While she was unconscious, he kept beating and stomping her. Her face was so bruised that Shane knew he couldn't let her go home or all of her friends would know what he had done. So he kidnapped her and held her at his house. While she was held hostage, Shane beat her on a daily basis. He forced her to send messages to her friends and family to assure them that she's fine. Things got so bad that he threatened to kill her as well as himself. After 6 days, the girl convinced Shane to let her go. After she reassured him that she wouldn't call the police. Of course, she did call them, and that led to the scariest part of this story yet. Shane was charged, but he got off with only 2 years of probation.
Number 5. A 28-year-old woman from New Zealand went on a business trip to Sydney. To kill some time, she decided to meet up with a man she had just matched with on Tinder. They decided to go to a local bar and were later joined by a group of the man's friends. She didn't mind, and they continued to hang out and have fun. But after a while, she started to feel dizzy, lost, and numb. 3 things that are usually taken as indicators that someone has been drugged. Quickly after that, she lost consciousness and woke up in an unfamiliar place, surrounded by the man and his friends. After raping her, they left her there alone, and she was able to escape the property and contact the police. The woman is still suffering from trauma, and it's unknown to the public whether the men have ever been caught or not.
Number 4. 26-year-old Francia Ramirez arranged a meeting with her friends, but she never showed up and wouldn't answer her phone when they tried calling her. Her friends started getting worried, so they called the police, who couldn't find her either. However, after a while, Francia's friends were able to get into her social media accounts. When they dug in, they found out she had been going on dates with another 26-year-old named Emmanuel, who she met on Tinder and was supposed to meet that same day. Her friends thought it was strange because Francia usually talked to them about guys, but they had never heard of Emmanuel for some reason. The police got a search warrant for Emmanuel's apartment since he was the last person she was in contact with. But when they searched his place, they saw something that nobody ever wants to see. The police first found bags filled with Francia's clothes, the ones she had been wearing that day. Then, next to the bags of clothes there were trash bags containing human bones with some flesh still remaining on them. They also found canisters of caustic soda and hydrochloric acid, indicating that Emmanuel had dissolved Francia's body in acid barrels. Emmanuel later confessed to killing her because she refused to have sex with him.
Number 3. A young woman met a man on Tinder, and they decided to go on an innocent coffee date on a Thursday night. She was excited about the date and thought the man seemed nice. That night, he picked her up, and they started driving in the direction of the coffee shop. But as they were driving, he suddenly exited the highway and started driving through a shady industrial area. The woman was alarmed and knew something was wrong, so she started pleading with the man to be let out of the car, but he wouldn't listen. Instead, he drove her to a secluded location where he severely beat her and then raped her. According to her account, she was sure she was going to die that day. But instead, after he was finished, the man just drove her back to her house as if nothing had happened. Almost like it was just a typical date to him, and he didn't even realize that he had done something wrong. He didn't even think about covering it up or hiding from the police or anything. Of course, she reported it, and he was quickly arrested. But unfortunately, there are no further details available regarding his case. For all we know, the man is still out there looking for new matches.
Number 2. Ingrid lied, a single mother of 3, had been talking to a man named John Charlton on Tinder for a few weeks. He seemed like a typical middle-class guy, worked a 9 to 5, liked going out for beers, and enjoyed sports. Nothing out of the ordinary. After a while, Ingrid felt like she knew him, and they decided to go to a baseball game together. 2 days after the date, her ex-husband was dropping off their kids at her place, but Ingrid never answered the door. The ex-husband called Ingrid's mother, who had keys to her house. They found Ingrid's purse, wallet, and phone, but she was nowhere to be found, so they decided to call the police. As the authorities searched the house, they found blood and human tissue in Ingrid's bathroom. Later that day, another homeowner contacted the police, telling them he found body parts, including a head, a severed leg, a foot, and an arm, in his recycling bin. This was only a few miles away from Ingrid's home, and the police connected it to Ingrid's case, discovering that they were, in fact, her remains. John Charlton was later charged for this murder. This just goes to show you that sometimes you think you know someone, you think they seem nice, an average person, and you never even expect that they have a much darker side.
Number 1. Gable Tosti is an Australian man who used to suffer from social anxiety to the point that he couldn't even make friends. He overcame the issue and became a sort of dating guru on the forum at bodybuilding.com, where he constantly made posts boasting about meeting hundreds of women from Tinder. A modern-day success story, right? Wrong. On one of his Tinder dates was Wariana Wright. He invited her to his apartment where they had drinks, and the date was going really well. But then, things took a turn for the worst. Wariana's dead body was found in front of Gable's apartment building with marks on her body indicating that she had been beaten. Reports even claimed that he pushed her off his balcony, which was on the 14th floor. Gable was soon arrested and charged with murder. However, after a lengthy trial, he was found innocent. He then wrote a long post on bodybuilding.com where he explained the whole situation. According to him, it was an ordinary date at first, and things were going fine. But as both of them drank more and more, Wariana started to get aggressive. She started punching him, slapping him, and eventually tried to swing a metal object at him. He had to de-escalate the situation, so he held her and choked her in order to stop the attack. That's where marks on her body came from. Gable didn't know what to do, so he decided to lock her on his balcony. Within seconds of locking the door, she jumped off. Is that what really happened? Or is Gable actually a psychopath who killed her for his own amusement and then concocted this story as part of his game? We may never know.
So, next time you meet someone on Tinder, you might want to think twice. Someone might seem like the nicest person ever, but in reality they may be completely different, and you never know what you're walking into. All you can do is hope that nothing like this ever happens to you. Have you had any horrific dates? Leave your story in the comments below.